She ran. She ran the way people run when they know the next second might be their last. Sneakers slapping concrete, a paper bag torn open in her hand, something silver spilling out and skidding sideways across the asphalt. Coins, a small flash drive, a single photograph that fluttered like a dying moth. Behind her, 3 men in dark jackets. No shouting, just footsteps, fast and even. The kind of footsteps that have done this before. The kind that don't bother to yell because they don't have to. And Marcus Hale, standing on the opposite curb, frozen, holding a paper coffee cup he had just bought, watching his wife's terrified face for the first time in 14 months. The wife he had buried in his own mind. The wife he had stopped praying for. The wife the river was supposed to have taken. If stories like this one ever hit you where it hurts, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and drop a comment below before we go any further. Because this story is going to cost you some sleep tonight. He moved before he thought. His legs carried him across the intersection like they still remembered a route his brain had given up on months ago. A taxi horn screamed at him. A woman with a stroller pulled her child back by the hood of the coat. He didn't hear any of it. The closest man reached for Elena's shoulder. Marcus hit him from the side like a bag of cement dropped off a balcony. They went down together, rolling. The man's elbow cracked across Marcus's jaw, bright, fast, mean. Blood filled his mouth. Warm, copper, real. He didn't stop. He got his hands under the man's armpits and shoved him sideways into a parking meter, then dragged Elena up by the wrist. She yanked free the first second. He caught her again. She didn't fight him. She was too busy breathing. The second man cut diagonally across the hood of a parked sedan. The third circled wide toward a side alley. Smart. The kind of smart that means they've worked corners before. Marcus ran. They cut through an alley that smelled like wet cardboard and bleach. A cat shot out from under a rusted dumpster. Elena's breathing landed in short, panicked bursts beside him, and her grip felt wrong. Limp where it should have been tight. Calloused where it should have been soft. She had always had soft hands. "Slow down," she croaked. "I can't. My head." He eased his pace. Not because he wanted to, because her face had gone white as paper, and she was listing toward the wall like a ship taking on water. A bruise in darkening violet ran along her hairline. A thin cut above her left eye had stopped bleeding, but hadn't been cleaned. He pulled her into the recessed doorway of a closed laundromat. The neon "Open" sign was broken half-lit, humming like a sleepy bee. He crouched low, one hand behind his back to keep her pressed flat into the corner, and looked back down the alley. Nothing yet. She slid down the painted brick until she sat on the concrete, her arms wrapped around her knees. She looked at him without seeing him. "Where's my bag?" she said. Not a question, a demand from somebody who had learned the hard way never to lose the bag. He looked behind them. The paper bag, the silver thing sliding across the asphalt. Gone. Trampled or scooped or already in someone's pocket. It didn't matter. What mattered was the 3 men who would not stop because they had not been paid to stop. "Are you hurt?" he asked. "I'm fine. Don't touch me." She flinched when his hand moved. Her eyes were the wrong kind of wide. Not scared of him, scared of being touched at all, by anyone. "Who are you?" The question hit him in the chest like a fist. Marcus Hale. She repeated the name in her mouth like she was tasting something unfamiliar. Her eyes narrowed. She tried, He could see her try to flip through a mental filing cabinet that came up empty. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "I think you have the wrong person." 14 months ago, a blue car had gone off a bridge 2 counties over. The car was found 3 days later, empty, the driver's door buckled open. The woman inside was never found. The river had done what rivers do. Marcus had grieved. He had not moved on. He had also signed papers he wished he hadn't. The death certificate 6 weeks ago. The closing of her small savings account last Tuesday. Their daughter Lily had picked out a little black dress that was too long for her and cried into his neck at the funeral that wasn't a funeral. Just an urn that didn't have anything in it except a folded sheet of paper with the word "Mom" written on it in crayon. And now his wife was sitting 3 feet away from him, alive, breathing, smelling faintly of detergent and sweat, asking him who he was. "My name is Marcus Hale," he said again, softer. "I'm your husband. We have a 6-year-old daughter, Lily. She draws horses on the backs of envelopes in green ink because green is your favorite color. She still sleeps with one of your old t-shirts." The woman stared at him. She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "I'm sorry," she said. "I don't remember." Marcus's hands started to shake. He put them flat on his thighs to make them stop. "Try," he said. "Just try." "I have tried, every day for 11 months. Her voice cracked, and the crack sounded old. "I have tried to remember the day I was found. I have tried to remember the man who gave me my new ID. I have tried to remember who Elena is. I have tried. There is nothing in there but a brick wall and smoke." A trash bag rattled somewhere down the alley. He could hear the footfalls again, not running yet, walking, patient. The kind of patient that meant they already knew the alley had only one exit, and they had all night. He had maybe 90 seconds. "Where's my brother Danny?" Marcus asked. She blinked. "Who?" "Danny Hale." She shook her head. "I don't know anyone named Danny. I'm sorry. I really don't." The distance between her voice and the truth of what he had just asked landed somewhere in his stomach and stayed there. He filed it. He didn't have room for it yet. His phone buzzed. A text from Danny, 20 minutes old. "You free tonight?" Marcus stared at it. He stared at it the way you stare at something that is trying very hard to look normal and isn't. Danny had texted 20 minutes ago, which meant Danny had been watching, which meant Danny had known his brother's wife was alive and walking around downtown with a stolen notebook. Marcus typed back, one word. "Yes." The reply came in 8 seconds. "Coming." He hoped it wasn't true. He hoped it was. "We can do memory later," he said. "Right now, I need you to trust me for 1 minute." "I don't know you." "I know. Please, 1 minute." She looked at his hand for a long time. She took it. They made it to the back door of a noodle shop 2 blocks over, through a service alley Marcus hadn't known existed until this afternoon. The owner was a man Marcus had once pulled out of a frozen drainage ditch in January. The man let them through the kitchen without a word. He didn't even look up from his newspaper. Marcus pushed Elena into a beige utility closet full of mop buckets and the smell of chlorinated water. He shut the door and stood in front of it, his back pressed against the wood, his palms wet, his left eye swelling shut from the elbow. Through the slats, he watched 2 of the men walk past the kitchen window, then back, then past again. In the closet, her breathing slowed. She sat on an overturned bucket. Her mismatched socks, one red, one gray, had been bought by Marcus for her birthday a year and a half ago. 2 pairs, because she had complained about cold feet in winter, the way some people complain about weather. "What's in the bag?" Marcus asked, keeping his voice low. "The one you dropped." Her eyes went sharp. A small, hard thing he recognized, the shape of a woman guarding what she'd fought to keep. "A book," she said. "A notebook. Names, dates, money that changes hands. Pictures of men I don't know." "Why are they after you for it?" "Because I stole it from a man named Marco Velez, and Marco Velez does not share." The name hit Marcus like cold water poured down his back. He knew Marco Velez. Everyone in construction in this city knew Marco Velez. The kind of man who owned half the cement trucks and most of the favors. The kind of man who smiled at you and made you check your pockets afterward to be sure nothing had slipped out. Marcus's brother Danny had been owing Velez a number that, even secondhand, made Marcus sick to think about. Danny had stopped answering his phone 3 months ago. Danny had stopped coming to Sunday dinner. Danny had sent Lily a stuffed elephant on her birthday with a card that hadn't been signed. "You stole the book from Velez for a stranger's debt," Marcus said. "I didn't steal anything. I retrieved it. There's a difference." "Not to him." She looked down at her shoes. One shoelace was untied. She didn't tie it. "I lost my memory in the crash," she said after a while. "Someone found me on the riverbank. He wasn't a doctor. He was there. He gave me a new ID, told me my name was Renee, told me to never talk about my past, ever, to anyone. He gave me a place to live in a basement apartment above a laundromat in Crown Heights for 2 months. Then he came back and said I had a debt." "Who told you that?" "A man in a suit. I don't even remember his face. He said the debt was mine now. He said if I brought him the book from Velez's office safe, the debt would be cleared. He told me exactly where the lockbox was, under a bench on 12th Street. I went at dawn. 3 men followed me back before I had even reached the corner." "You stole incriminating evidence from a syndicate boss because a stranger told you to, and you don't even remember who the stranger is." "I needed the debt gone." "You needed to be alive more than you needed the debt gone." She looked at him as if she had just heard something new. "I needed to be alive," she admitted, "and I didn't think that was possible. So I did what the man in the suit said. And now, this is what's happening." Her voice cracked again. This time it was a clean crack, the kind that lets light in. Marcus let her cry. He stood there and let her cry the way only strangers can cry in front of strangers. Ugly, surprised, embarrassed. He didn't reach for her. He didn't tell her it would be okay. He just stood and breathed with her until her shoulders stopped shaking. "Day I was found, my hand was bruised in the shape of fingers," she said after. "I don't know if it's from the crash or from the man who found me, or from somewhere in between." Marcus took her hand and looked at it. The bruise was long faded, but the marks hadn't been carried over with it. He felt the small bones under the skin. He felt how small she had become while he had been signing papers. "Let me check something," he said quietly. He pulled out his phone. He turned it so she couldn't see the screen and scrolled past work pictures, past a sunset he had taken because Lily asked him to, until he found the one he was looking for. Their wedding photo, 8 years ago. Her in a cream dress too big for her, holding a bouquet of grocery store carnations because that's what they could afford. Him grinning like an idiot, her hand on his chest, fingers spread, pressing the fabric flat. He held the phone out through the slats. She looked at it for a long time. "That's me," she said at last, a question she couldn't quite commit to. "That's you. And the little girl with the chocolate on her hands at the table. That's Lily. She's 6 now." A muscle in her jaw worked. She pressed her forehead against the door. She made a sound that wasn't a word, and wasn't a sob, and wasn't a laugh. Something in between that Marcus had never heard from another human being. Then she opened her eyes. "I don't remember her," she whispered. "But you see her." "I see a stranger holding a chocolate croissant." Her voice broke again. "I see a stranger holding a chocolate croissant, and I feel like I've been stabbed." "Why do I feel like I've been stabbed?" Marcus believed her. That was the worst part. He believed her completely. He didn't say that she had once dropped a chocolate croissant in that exact spot at the restaurant because Lily had asked to try it, and Elena had put it in her daughter's mouth before remembering it was hers. He didn't say that the photo on his phone was the only photo he had printed and framed for his desk. He just stood there and let her hold the phone, and let her cry again quietly into her own shoulder. "Then we'll make new ones," he said. Outside, one of the men swore in Spanish. The other one laughed. Marcus texted Danny. He didn't want to. He typed anyway. One word. "Come." The reply came in 9 seconds. "Where?" "A loft Danny used 3 years ago, before he stopped paying rent." Marcus had a key in a kitchen drawer at home he hadn't thrown away. He had always kept it because some part of him understood that Danny was not the kind of brother you threw away. He was just the kind of brother you survived. A blast of cold air hit them when they came out the back of the noodle shop. She walked closer to him than she had been walking. Not by a lot, by an inch. But he felt the inch, and the inch felt bigger than the city. He didn't think about Lily, because if he thought about Lily, he would fall apart in the middle of a sidewalk, and these men would catch them, and that would be the end of every story he had left. So he didn't think about her. He thought about an exit. Danny's loft was 4 blocks away. Marcus sent a second text. "Alone." The reply was faster this time. 2 words. "On my way." At the loft door, Marcus pressed the key into Elena's hand. "If I don't come back inside in 10 minutes, you call this number." He recited a detective's cell from a card in his wallet, a private investigator he had paid once, in cash, to look for his wife's body in the river. She had come back empty-handed. Marcus had kept the card. "Tell her everything. The book, Velez, the bridge, the man in the suit, the bruise on my wife's hand." "Marcus," she said, careful with his name, the way you say a word in a language you're relearning. "Why are you doing this?" He almost said, "Because I love you." He didn't. "Because if it were me on that street, you'd be the one running toward me." A small, broken smile on her face, gone before it landed. He shut the door. He stood on the other side of the alley, hands loose at his sides, waiting 3 minutes. He watched a pigeon walk the gutter like it owned the building. He watched a woman cross the intersection with a stroller. He watched Danny's silver car slide into the alley and park crooked across 2 spots. Danny got out. He looked like their mother around the eyes and like their father around the mouth. He had a half smile he couldn't turn off, and a handshake that always went on 1 second too long. "Marcus." A hug. Too tight. Over too fast. "You look like hell." "You look like you got some sleep." "You know me, no conscience, no problem." Danny laughed at his own joke. His eyes flicked past Marcus to the loft. "Who's inside?" Marcus didn't answer right away. He watched Danny's face. He watched for the thing he had been afraid to look for 14 months, in every family member and every friend and every stranger who had come close enough to be looked at. "Danny," he said, "where were you the night of the bridge?" "I was here, you know that." "And 10 days before that?" Danny's smile didn't move. That was how Marcus knew. "Why are you asking me this tonight, Marcus? What's going on?" "You owe Velez a number." Danny's face went still. "How do you know that name?" "Elena is alive, Danny." The name landed wrong on Danny. Not wrong like confusion. Wrong like a soft landing. Wrong like he had been waiting for that name to show up in this conversation for 14 months. "She can't be," Danny said. "She is. She's inside. She has a notebook with Velez's name in it. She doesn't remember me. She doesn't remember her own name. She doesn't remember the bridge. She remembers nothing." Danny's hand went to his pocket. Slowly, the way a man does when he's making sure something is still there. "You paid off the man she was getting the notebook from," Marcus said. "You cut her brakes. You let her fall off a bridge into the river and watched it take her. You made sure she survived just enough to forget. Then you sold the amnesiac woman she became to Velez for a number you couldn't pay. You lied to me at the funeral. You held Lily on your lap and told her stories about her mother." Danny's face did something terrible. It shut down. Like blinds closing in a house. Like a porch light being turned off. "She was going to ruin everything," Danny said. "I couldn't let her." "You let her forget her own daughter's name." Danny's mouth opened. Marcus hit him. It wasn't a smart punch. It wasn't a movie punch. It was a fist swung by a man who had buried an empty urn for a wife who was alive. By a man who had signed a death certificate for the woman standing 6 feet behind him. Danny staggered back into his own car. The alarm screamed into the alley. His hand came up bloody, and he stared at it like it belonged to someone else. "Marcus," Danny said, "let me explain." "There's nothing to explain." Marcus's voice was steady in a way his hands were not. "You go. You drive. You do not come back to this loft. You do not come back to Lily. You do not come back to me. If you do, the next time, I won't stop." Danny's jaw worked. He nodded. He got into the car. Then he said, very quietly, "He'll come for her tonight, Marcus. He's already closer than you think." The car pulled away. The alarm kept screaming, then stopped. Marcus stood alone in the alley. He wanted to sit down. He wanted to sit down and not get up. He walked inside instead. Elena was still standing by the door. She had heard enough through the slats. She was looking at him with a face that was no longer empty. It wasn't full either. It was something in between. The face of a woman watching a stranger become important. "It was my brother," Marcus said. "I heard." "He set the bridge." "I heard." Her chin trembled. She didn't cry. She had used up most of her crying in the closet. "What do we do now?" she asked. Marcus pulled out his phone. He opened the camera. He pressed record. He looked into the lens and did the thing he had been too scared to do the day he signed the death certificate himself. He told the truth. He named Velez. He named the cement company. He named the bank account the bribes went into. He named a meeting that had taken place at a hotel on the river 3 weeks after the bridge. He named Danny. He named himself. He said that he, Marcus Hale, had signed papers on a woman who was not dead because he had been told she was dead, and because, at some terrible level, he had wanted to believe it so the pain would have an end. When he stopped, the video was 9 minutes long. He sent it to the detective's number, then to a second number, a journalist he had once helped fix a leaking pipe, then to a third number, an FBI field office that had voicemail. Elena watched him do all of it. When he finished, he looked up at her. "Now we wait," he said. They didn't wait long. 40 minutes later, a knock on the loft door. 3 knocks, evenly spaced, polite. Marcus opened it. Marco Velez was a shorter man than he looked in pictures. Silver hair, steel blue overcoat, hands that looked like they had never touched a shovel. 2 men behind him, both of whom Marcus recognized from the alley. The same alley, the same afternoon, the same city. Sometimes the world is so small you want to cry. "Marcus Hale," Velez said, like he was tasting the name. "Marco Velez," Marcus said. "I understand my book is somewhere in this building," Velez said. "And I understand my sister-in-law, who I believe is technically still married to your brother, is also in this building." Elena was not his sister-in-law, but Elena's false identity, the one the man in the suit had given her after the river, included a marriage to Velez's nephew. That marriage license was sitting in a folder in the same bank of evidence that included the notebook. "She has a name," Marcus said. "She does, and so do I." Velez stepped into the loft without being invited. The 2 men filed in behind him. The door shut. "I have a proposal." "A proposal?" "You give me the book. You give me the recording you just made. Yes, I know about the recording, Marcus. My friend at the phone company is faster than your friend at the FBI. And I let you and your lovely wife walk out of here. You take the girl, Lily, you move somewhere very far away, and you never use my name in a sentence again. And if I don't? Then I sit down, I have a coffee, and I wait for the friend your brother paid to take care of the loose ends from the bridge. He is, in fact, sitting in a car 2 blocks away. It will take him 11 minutes to get here. I called him on the way over." Marcus's mouth went dry. He'd gambled. He'd gambled wrong. "Marcus," Velez said, like he was speaking to a tired child. "Where is the book?" Marcus looked at Elena. Elena looked back. Something passed between them that was not memory, not recognition, not the old married thing that used to live in the way they finished each other's sentences. Something newer. Something that hadn't been built yet but had started, in the last 3 hours, to lay its first brick. "It's in the wall," Elena said. Velez blinked. "Beg your pardon?" "The book. The lockbox. They're both in the wall, behind the dresser in the bedroom. I put them there this morning, before we came to the city." Marcus stared at her. He had not known that. Velez stared at her. He had not known that either. The 2 men behind Velez moved toward the bedroom. Velez raised one finger. They stopped. "Stand up, sweetheart," Velez said to Elena. "Walk me to the bedroom. Slowly." Elena stood. She took 1 step toward Velez, then a second. She passed Marcus on the way. She did not stop. She did not look at him. Her hands were shaking at her sides. She was, Marcus understood, walking toward a man who had wanted her dead for a year. She was walking because if she didn't, Velez would do something worse than take her. Velez would take him. And she had never known Marcus Hale in her life. And yet, Marcus understood, she was not about to let Marcus Hale die in front of her. Marcus moved. He did not think about it. He did not plan it. He moved the way a man moves when the woman he loves is about to be hit by something she can't see. He stepped between Elena and Velez. Velez's hand went into his coat. Marcus's hand went higher. Faster. It closed around the silver letter opener he had picked up off the desk at some point in the last 10 minutes. He couldn't remember picking it up. And he put it under Velez's jaw, just deep enough to draw a thin red line. "Don't," Marcus said. "Don't move." The two men behind Velez reached for their waists. "If they move," Marcus said, "you die first. You die first because you're closer. And I'm okay with that. Today, I am very, very okay with that." Elena's hand slid into Marcus's back pocket. Quick. Quiet. She pulled out his phone. 3 minutes later, a sound on the street. Sirens. Velez's phone rang. He didn't answer it. The two men behind him did. Velez's face changed. Warmer. Redder. He looked at Marcus like he was looking at something new. "You son of a bitch," Velez said. Marcus pushed him backward toward the door. The two men parted. Velez stumbled through the frame. He caught himself. He straightened his coat. He looked once more at Marcus, then once at Elena, then at nothing. He walked into the alley. A voice on a loudspeaker told him to get on the ground. He got on the ground. The detective was the first one through the door. She didn't smile. She put a hand on Marcus's shoulder. She told the EMTs to look at his hand first, then his jaw, then the bruise on the back of his head he didn't remember getting. She asked Elena 3 questions in a calm voice and took notes in a small green book. "We'll need you both downtown in the morning," the detective said. Elena nodded. The detective left. Marcus sat down on the floor. He didn't mean to. His legs just stopped working. Elena sat down across from him. They sat there for a long time in the kind of silence that doesn't need to be filled. She reached out and put her hand on his. He didn't flinch. She didn't flinch. Her hand was in his hand, the way her hand used to be in his hand at their wedding. Light, careful, like she was trying to figure out how much pressure was safe. "You don't remember me," Marcus said. "No. But you just sent those sirens. I saw you press the journalist's number in the closet. I remembered the digits. I don't know where. I sent one line from your back pocket. Marco Velez, 312 Barrow Street Loft, 11 minutes. A small breath. It took them 9. You saved us. I think, she said slowly, we saved us. She didn't drop his hand. The loft smelled like bleach and old coffee and the particular kind of sweat that only fear leaves behind. Outside, Velez was being read his rights by someone who had practiced the speech in front of a mirror. Danny was somewhere on a highway, going nowhere fast. Lily was asleep at the home of a neighbor Marcus had once helped carry a couch up 4 flights of stairs. In the morning, the neighbor would drive Lily to the hospital. Lily would walk into a room full of machines and bandages and find a woman she had never met sitting up in a bed, watching the door. Lily wouldn't say anything at first. Lily would hold her chocolate croissant from the cafeteria in both small hands. Lily would look at the woman the way only a 6-year-old can look at someone, with the full weight of every bedtime story she had ever been told about her. The woman would hold out her arms. The croissant would fall to the linoleum. The butter would make a small sound against the floor. Neither one of them would remember a single thing about the first 6 years of Lily's life. But both of them would remember this. A girl. A chocolate croissant on the floor. A grandfather clock ticking on the wall behind them. In a room where nothing would ever be the same, and everything, somehow, would be okay. Marcus stood in the doorway. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Elena looked at him and, for the first time, said his name in a way that wasn't a question. "Marcus Hale," she said. "Thank you." He nodded. She squeezed his hand. Once. Twice. The way you squeeze a hand to check that it's really there. He had not prayed in 14 months. He prayed now, just for a second, and it was the shortest prayer of his life, and the longest. She couldn't remember him. She remembered the wrong number to call. She remembered how to survive him. She remembered the smell of a stranger and chose to save him anyway. In a world that had taken everything from both of them, that was enough to begin again. If you've ever loved someone you couldn't keep, drop a comment below with the one thing you'd want them to remember about you when the world takes you back.